Okay. All right, so let's get started. Thank you again for joining the Whiteboard.chat beginners webinar. The format that we follow normally is that we go over just a brief introduction for a couple of minutes, and then we jump into the Whiteboard.chat service itself. I will go over several tools and features that are very useful for teachers and then please do type in your questions in the Zoom chat window. And I have two colleagues of mine, Praveen and Pawan, who are also on the call. They will voice the, so I will pause periodically and they can read out the questions and we'll try and answer those questions together. If by any chance some of your questions do get held off, that may be because we may be introducing that feature just a little later in the webinar. So maybe we just request you to be a little bit patient. And so if you could also mute yourself for the main part of the webinar, that would be great. Um, so the webinar essentially is going to be for about an hour, and then we stop the recording at that time, and then we open up the conference call for any questions. And if anybody else wants to record the meeting for themselves, you are welcome to do that as well. But we are recording it right now, and we will be posting this recording to our YouTube channel as well as on Facebook. Okay, so let's get started. Uh, a brief introduction to our company itself. So we are a small company based in San Jose, California, and we primarily work on some enterprise products. And we took some of the technology that we had, and we saw it being applicable to the online learning environment. So we started out with a very basic set of things that would help teachers uh, take that system and start using it for their online classes and to increase the observability that they have for their students. And so things grew from there. And it's a small team that we have in San Jose, and we try to support this product as much as we can. It's free. We do intend to keep the main service free for educators. All the features will be free. That we envision that everybody should have access to all the tools and features, so that it's a level playing field, and education should be really freely accessible to everyone. So what is Whiteboard.chat? As you in the virtual class ecosystem, we have on the left hand side, we have the learning management systems, which you are very familiar with. Canvas, Google Classroom, Schoology being some of the very popular ones. And then we have these conferencing and online communication tools, which are Google Meet, Zoom, like we are using right now, and Microsoft Teams is getting a lot of traction as well. And so they provide bits and pieces that help teachers conduct their classes online. What is lacking in a big way is that the teachers don't have the way to see if their students are engaged, how much, whether they're making good progress on what is assigned to them, whether they are absorbing the material that is being taught to them. And that observability and engagement piece is where Whiteboard.chat really makes a big difference. So a marquee feature here is on this slide. So it shows a teacher that who's has prepared an assignment or a lesson on their whiteboard, on the teacher's whiteboard. That teachers, so when students join the Whiteboard.chat, they get a copy of the teacher's whiteboard, and so they get their individual copies, which they can themselves annotate. And so those individual copies are shared only between the student and the teacher. And the whiteboards of the students are not visible across to the other students, unless the teacher chooses to do that, unless the teacher chooses to show that and showcase that to the students. And that observability and the real-time visibility that the teacher gets makes all the difference. So we'll look at that right now. The Whiteboard.chat was launched as a service around July, August timeframe. That's when we started to ramp up last year, and we had a minimal set of features. Of course, the core observability feature was key, and then we started getting feedback from teachers. We kept building upon that feedback, and so it's highly designed uh, based on feedbacks from the teachers. So literally whiteboard.chat gives them exactly the tools that they need for managing their classrooms, and that has helped our adoption grow in a very significant way. We now get almost 64,000 users a day, and we've crossed, I think, well over a million it's in the just the last 100 days or so. Right. We are very engaged on in social media, so we have a very active Facebook page. We're active on Instagram and Twitter as well. Twitter is very chatty now these days, because we see a lot of adoption by teachers, and we also like to respond to our community on Facebook and at feedback@whiteboard.chat. So if you have any feedback in terms of improvements that we can make, or any issues that you may run into while teaching, let us know. We try to respond very quickly. We even have one-on-one sessions with some teachers to help them troubleshoot their problems at times. So feel free to reach out to us. I think the teacher engagement is what has made Whiteboard.chat really successful. So let's get started. In terms of so if you go to whiteboard.chat, this is what you will see. It's an online service which is accessible on any device that you can, have a browser, and you can browse to whiteboard.chat. You do not need to install any application. There's no special mobile app at this time. There are requests from many teachers to have a separate mobile app, but we will get to it when we get to it. But at this time, you can access this on tablets, phones, laptops, Chromebooks, and it all works well on that. In terms of our privacy, which is very important for all the school districts and teachers, all our information is stored out here at the bottom left. You can go and check that out. Privacy, our terms of service, and some more information about us. We also have webinars that are for advanced features. So if you click here, you can get our webinar calendar that you can look up and then sign up for some of the advanced features webinars. There are also sometimes webinars that are conducted by teachers themselves to just explain how they use whiteboard.chat. So those are extremely interesting as well. So we really encourage you to come sign up for those webinars. All right. So if when you start, so if you the main button you see here is start drawing. You will see three sub buttons out here. So one is a start collaborating button, which basically starts a whiteboard, which is a collaboration session like many other whiteboards have, right? So every participant joins in and gets the same set of tools, the same whiteboard, single whiteboard that they work on, and so you're very familiar with that. But so we won't look at that too much today. We will be concentrating on the start teaching board. So this is a place where you can create, assign, and live teach individual students. You can upload PDFs, and you can create games for education. You can have the students work in groups and so on. And then the third section is the manage board section, which you can use to organize your classroom, your boards, and things like that. We will look at that as well. So let's get going. Let's click on start teaching. Okay, so here's what you see first. So I have joined in as, so you don't necessarily need to create an account. So that's another important thing to know, is to start teaching. You can just merely you go to our splash page, you say start drawing, start teaching, and you can join a board right away. You do not need to give any personal information out. And you will notice here that it might be some sort of a name like Dark Rembrandt or Matisse or someone like that. It's just an arbitrary name that the system picks for you, since you have logged in anonymously. But the advantage of creating an account is that then you are able to save your boards and then go back to them later. You can organize things like that. And so let's say that you do want to sign up, then there's a gear account icon up here that you click, and that if I it will say let me sign out, and it should show you something like this. So let me do that. Start drawing, start teaching, and let's say that now I have logged in as an anonymous user. So I can click here, and that's when I get to see this. And then you can click in, you can do a sign up, or we highly encourage you to also use a social auth. So you can use Google, Facebook, or even a personal Microsoft account. So I'm just going to sign in as myself here. Okay. All right, so let's see. Now I've got a teacher board going. I'll just quickly go over some of the tools that you have around here. So this is our main menu where you'll access a bunch of our tools. And to get a more text description of each of these buttons, you can click on the button up here, the hamburger icon we call it. And you can get a text description of all the features down here. So we'll go through all of these, several of these today. You have the title of your board here. So we encourage you to definitely give your boards a name. So March 10th, let's say. So that's the name. And you will see a few other icons up here as well. If you click on this is what we call as the avatar icon, because as participants join, you can click on them and you can see who has joined your board. So as I bring in some students, you will see that as well. Now, to get started, you just have a plain whiteboard. So you just can scribble on it. You can type in text. Now let's look at a few of the drawing tools down here. So if you click on this, you can pick a different color. So let's say if I pick the blue color here, and then I can adjust my pen thickness using this slider. So as you can see, it becomes a little thicker. I can even get a dashed pen. So if I draw that, I can get, so this is a toggle button, so I can toggle it. And now I can get a clear, solid pen as well. This second slider here controls the opacity. So if you now highlight, it becomes like a highlighter. So if I say this is text, and if I want to highlight, so I can make it a little bit less opaque. And then we can maybe choose a different color. That makes it a highlighter, right? You can just click on the toggle highlighter to get it back to into completely opaque color. The third slider controls the font size. So if I want a larger font size, I just slide it up here and say, okay, so this is my larger font. And the font size also affects many other features that that we'll see a little later. So you can create tiles and things like that. So all the fonts that go into those tiles will also be controlled by the sliders. So let me just make it a little smaller. Okay. Now, an often a question we get is how do we change fonts? So this font, the TT that you see there, that's clickable as well. So we have 4 built-in. Actually, we have added a few more recently. So the default font is Chewy, and so you can pick a few other ones. This is Roboto, and so on. So you can certainly play with some of the fonts there. There's also a really cool font for KG teachers to that gives you essentially blocks that you can use for filling in. So if you have a larger font size, and then you can, so for example, if I type in Google here, then that gives you exactly the shapes that you can use to fill in GOGRE. Okay, so let me pick a more regular font. Okay, so let me pause here for a second. Are there any questions for Praveen?
Yeah,
I have a
there's one
question. I have a
So,
question.
so if you don't mind, can you type your question into the Zoom chat so that it's easier for us to get organized and we don't miss any questions? Thank you so much.
There's a question on what is the zoom on button that you see in the above cat?
Okay. Yeah, so we recently added this functionality to be able to zoom into the board and zoom out as well. So now some teachers don't really use this feature much. So what they can do in that, you can also click on this to just reset it to 100%. And if you switch it off, then it just removes that control off your screen. So you just get more real estate. Any other question?
Uh, yeah, and the participants add a person join, another person join. How can I monitor that?
Yes. So let's do one thing. I'm going to clear this board and just clean it up a little bit. Let's do a quick thing about creating an assignment, and then we'll invite a student, and you'll see how all of those mechanics work. Okay. So, and then I can pause again for questions as well. So let me here upload. So let's say I have a PDF document that I want to upload and create an assignment. So I go to the upload icon here and then say, okay, I want to upload the document from my computer. Okay, so I have a webinar folder here. I have a math worksheet, which is a place value chart. I'm gonna upload it here. Now, you can have PDFs which you've scanned or which you even could take a picture of, and you can upload them all out here. You can, of course, upload from your Google Drive as well. Do note that when you try to look at your Google Drive from here, it only shows you the PDF documents and images that are there in your Google Drive. So if you have other material, other types of file formats, you may not see them, and that is expected. So now this PDF that I uploaded is actually a multi-page PDF. So this bottom right button here, bottom left button here is like a thumbnail view. So as you can see, it has uploaded 3 pages. So I can go to those 3 pages here. And so it's very easy to create an assignment to start with, right? You just have an existing PDF that you can upload. And now let's say that I wanted to invite a student. So I click on this button out here. So which is the top right that you see, invite button. Now, one thing you really need to be careful about is please do not copy the URL which is up here in your browser bar and share that. That is specifically for you as a teacher, and so do not ever share that. But if you click on the invite button up here, now you have various different options to invite your students to your classroom. So they can, let's say they're on tablets. So if you share this, just like we are doing this on Zoom, they can just take a snapshot of this QR code and they will join the classroom. You can email them the invite link, or you can even add it to your Google Classroom. So if you click on this button, you can join your Google Classroom and post your link there. You can have them also use this classroom code to join Whiteboard.chat. So that's another option. And the best option and the most frequently used option is the one which is down here, which is just a join URL, which you can copy by clicking this button. And now I can share it. So let's say I'm going to open, I want to see this board as a student would see it. So I'm going to open an incognito window. This is just a different browser, which is in a privacy with privacy enabled. And I paste that URL out here. Okay, so I paste that link here, and now I will be joining this board as a student. And as you can see, that only asks you for the student name, and this is primarily to identify just who the student is for the teacher, right? So the student can really use any alias, and the teacher would be able to identify them with that. We don't require the students to be creating accounts. Now, as you can see, the student sees the exact lesson that has been uploaded by the teacher, right? And now, even if let's say the teacher wants to add some text to it. So let's say the teacher says, please, right? And the teacher can now move this text as well. So there's a move and resize tool the teacher can use to here add this here. And as you can see, that automatically showed up on your student board immediately, right? And so this is all live. There is no pushing of any objects involved. As you change things, you will start to see what the teacher is doing on the board. And now once the student starts to work, so let's say the student is now starting to work on their assignment. So let's say the first student says 3, and or maybe this should have been out here. So let's say I should fix it here, 3, 4, and so on. And now the teacher can go into a grid view to see what the student is doing. So here I see my Sarah student, and this is all live. So if the student also draws some text here, as you can see, the teacher right away can see the changes that are being made by the student live. So let me do one thing right now. I am going to share this invite URL, the invite link with my colleagues as well, so they can join the board, so we can see how a more number of students to get a more real classroom like experience. Now here's a little bit of a tip here. So as I mentioned to you, there's an invite link here that you can copy. Alternately, you can also copy the invite link from this little shortcut here. Okay, so you can place, I'm going to paste it in my Slack window so they can join the board. And so Pawan and Praveen will soon be joining. Let's take a look at a few of the other features now. I'm going to make a slight change to the students' color so that.
So there are a bunch of questions you want to
Yes,
address.
yes, I will pause for questions. Thanks, Pawan.
Yeah, can you show how to turn the marker into a highlighter?
Yes. So let's say that the student needs to highlight something. So a really easy way to turn it into a highlighter is to just click on this toggle highlighter, and it helps to increase your pen thickness a little bit. And now you can start to highlight things very easily. So let me see that I may not be in drawing mode. I need to be in draw mode. There you go. Yep.
And can we use PowerPoint or Google Slides with this?
What we request you to do at this time is that you convert your PowerPoint or your Google Slides into a PDF document, and then you are welcome to upload it. There are a few ways to embed a Google Slide as well, but we do cover that normally in our advanced webinar. And time permitting, we can touch upon that a little later, but currently convert to PDF and upload, that works out really well.
And, how can I upload a notebook so I can work page by page? I think
Yeah, so as I just did as a teacher out here, I uploaded a PDF document which had 3 pages, and this automatically assigned each of those pages to 3 different pages on your whiteboard. So you can do exactly the same with your notebook as well.
Can I share the link in Google Classroom or?
Yes. So when you click on the invite dialog here, as you can see, there's a button for sharing in Google Classroom. So you can either go about doing it through here, through this link, or you can also copy this join link and then go to your Google Classroom and paste it into your assignment or whichever other classroom communication medium that you may have there.
I tried to upload an assignment today and it wouldn't accept. Are there certain types of assignments that can't be added to the board?
Yeah, so if the document is not in a PDF or an image format like a PNG or a JPEG, then it may not get uploaded. So certainly, if so, for example, if you just take a Word file and then try to upload it, that will not get detected. But you can definitely print that Word file as a PDF and then upload it.
Does GIF work?
GIFs are currently not supported, but that's something that we are working on supporting, and so hopefully we'll have that available very soon.
Okay. Yeah, you can continue. You can ask more.
Okay, thanks. So let's. So I've shown you some of the most important key features that you need to get started using Whiteboard.chat. Let me go to my grid view again. So so this is a little important. So I'll show you that. I see that a few other students have joined in up here in my avatar menu up here. If I click on that, I can see that I had my original student, Sarah student, join in. Then we have Praveen and Pawan as well. And if I want to see how much progress they're making, I can click on the grid view button, and here we see them working on this stuff. And look at Pawan's. Pawan's been really busy, so I can click on that. I say, wow, this is really awesome. I can show you how all these manipulatives have been added by Pawan. And now, as you can see, if the student has done a great job, you can join their board, and you can, so let's say that you want to give them a sticker. So I click on the palette item. So I want to say that I want to reward them with something, right? So I can click on the palette icon up here. It gives me a whole lot of manipulatives. We'll go over this in a second, but let me go and into the reward section. And then I pick a trophy and I place it saying, hey, this is a great job, right? And then I can go back to my instructor board, and you can go back and do. So now the several teachers also want to reward many students at the same time. You can also click on the palette icon here and then click on any of these reward stickers and put them on these boards from here itself. So you don't necessarily need to join the board as well, right? So this is really important to know in the grid view. Now in the grid view, there are several options to configure how many students you'd like to see at the same time. So you can make it a few number of boards. So if you want to see larger boards, you can do that, right? There's also some additional features under this board browser, which we can cover if you have time, or you may have to join the advanced webinar for that. So let's go back to my book as a teacher. Now I'm going to look at a few of just the tools itself, so that now that we have the main functionality covered. So let's look at this toolbar. This particular section hides a lot of variety of things. So you can draw, of course, basic lines. Sorry. Yeah, so you can draw some basic lines. You have the ability to draw arrows. And of course, all of these, you can, the thickness is controlled by the pen thickness here. You have shapes like the circle. Now, when you're drawing circles, you can get ovals, or if you press shift and move your cursor, then you can get a proper regular circle. The same works for rectangles as well. So you have rectangles and a regular for polygons. You can also specify the number of sides. So, oops, I hit close by mistake. So let me hit that again. This is set. Now I can place my pentagon here. You also have the ability to have post-it notes. So let's say I would like to put in a blue post-it note, and then I want to write on that. So you can do that. You can add rich text editor. So as I said, that for text editing, you can just go anywhere and just start typing, right? But in addition, if you'd like your students to be able to write larger paragraphs of text, then what you could use is this rich text editor. So this helps you then format things a little bit better. So you get different types of font sizes, um, bigger font. You also do underscore and strike through and things like that, right? And so this gives you a little bit more convenient in terms of editing features. Then you have tools such as the infinite cloner. So let's say I want to duplicate a particular object many more times. I can just pick the infinite cloner and then just keep moving them and copying them. So this makes it easier for some teachers to or to start make exercises which require duplication of objects and things like that. Let me clear the board a little bit so we get some more room. So as you can see this, you can clear a board from up here using the clear icon. Then you have another tools. Now you have also a feature for adding a link to a website. So for example, if you want to create a button, right? Let's say this is a website. I want to say create Google. I want to say save it. So now if you when your students go to this board, so let me show you as a student what the student sees. So the student sees the same button that I just added, and when the student clicks on this, they get to go to that website. So you can sort of guide them through their lesson plan as well by adding such buttons. Then you have the ability to add a dice. So let's say, let me do this. So you go. So you can add, now this is, you can add up to 3 dice here. You can also program these dice. So for example, this is already, if you want to program the results of these dice, then you can do that. So now if I add this, I can get exactly the results that I wanted, right? 4, 4, and so on. And then students will be able to see the dies as well, and then you can click on individual dies and so on. And one thing to note about the dies is that you need to hide them. You go back to tools, and the same button that was show dice becomes hide dice, so you can use it to hide the dice. Then you have a feature to add YouTube videos. So let's say that you want to add some instructional videos. So you can add the YouTube dialog here. And let's say now this is our YouTube channel. Let me pick one of the videos. Let's say I copy a link to the video. I'll paste it here. Now, the really cool thing about this is that you can specify the start and end time of the video as well. So if you want the students to watch only certain parts of the videos, then yeah, you can specify exactly that, and they can start to play this and so on, right? And see, as you can see, it started off with at 10 seconds. Let me delete this. Now to erase particular things, you can also click on the erase button here and then remove the icons, or you can click on the cross icon there as well. So for another thing under tools that you'll see is a website. So this is another panel that you can add to your page, which, so for example, let's say that you want to cover the nightly news for kids, and let's say you want to cover it in your classroom. So you can add that in here. So this allows you to embed specific websites into your classroom so that the students can browse and they can only stay on that page. They can't really navigate away. So you have a very controlled browsing environment in that sense. Okay. Let's look at the other tools. Then we have a compass tool as well. So you can use it to draw arcs and do some basic construction and things like that as well, right? And you can just pick another tool and the compass tool will go away. Now we have a very rich math input feature as well. So this, you go to tools, I just increase my font size a little bit. I click math, and here you can enter some fairly complicated math symbols, and that really makes things a little bit easier for students to read as well. And plus, you can enter things like this. So even proper Greek characters or integral and so on. So you can do fairly complicated symbols here as well. To be able to figure out the various math input options that you have, if you click on the three dot icon up here, three dot menu, and go to the help section, there is a math input guide. So if you click on that, that gives you a fairly detailed help in how you can enter such complex polynomials and equations, so on. Okay. Now, since we touched upon the help section, there are quite a few different options available here as well. This is one thing that we added very recently. It is brings up a PDF document with a ton of our features that one of our ambassadors had prepared this document. And what we did was, let's say that you want to add play with class timers. So this is a linked document, so it will bring you exactly to a part of our video where where Pawan has explained how to use timers. So it's a very quick reference guide, and it shows you exactly through a video snippet how you can use many of these features. There's also detailed documentation. So these links are all PDFs, so you can download teacher's guide, student's guide, and so on as well. Okay, I'll pause again for some questions.
Yeah, so the question that can I hide students' boards from my view or kick them out?
Yes,
I
so
only want to focus on the ones that need help. The ones that are done, I don't want to focus on them.
I see. So, well, in terms of removing students, what you could do is that you can, sorry, I should click here on the on the three dots menu. If you open class boards, there's a quick navigation tool. So this is a multi-purpose tool in some sense to manage, look at your students and so on. So you can navigate to specific pages of a student as well. So let's say I go to page number 2 of Power. So it automatically takes me to Pawan's board and shows me page number 2 of his board. Now, if I wanted to remove Pawan, I could also use this icon here to delete student. That would just basically remove the student out from my classroom. And then you can also make this grid alphabetical. So you can specify, I want to see my grid view only in alphabetical way. So that makes it a little bit convenient sometimes as well. There's multiple options to filter this by using a board browser as well. So you can view group boards only, or you can get real-time view and so on. Let's see. I hope that answers the question there.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Uh,
Let's go on to the next one.
How can I make a copy of a board
Okay. So
for different classes?
under manage book, this now you have multiple options of working with individual pages or multiple pages. So here's the option that you want for copying a page, for example. You can also clear all pages, and there are few other options to share your board with other teachers. For example, if you click on send a copy, it gives you a link that you can share with anybody, not just necessarily your co-teachers. And if they click on that link, they get an entirely different copy, a separate copy that they can completely work with. So it won't interfere with your classroom if they make any changes and so on.
And PDFs that have hyperlinks, when you upload them, will they work with Whiteboard.chat?
Yeah, so currently we don't support the hyperlinks within the PDFs themselves. But if there are specific links that you want to add to your document, then you can certainly use this add link feature. And that I've seen many teachers do that as well, so that they have the specific links that are already available to students that they can click and go there.
Can I anonymize student name so it's not visible?
Yeah, so there's one feature which we haven't yet covered, which is available under the avatar icon, avatar menu here, which is to showcase somebody's work. So let's say, for example, if I go to Pawan's board, I want to showcase his work. So this allows the teacher to showcase somebody's board to other students, this is without really exposing whose board it is, and so it is anonymized in that sense. And do keep in mind that when you're seeing this board as a student, so let's say if I switch to the student board, so this is the student's view of the showcasing. The student has no way of knowing whose board it really is. And even when they're in the classroom, the students don't have this grid view. So they don't see who are the other students there, unless of course they're on a separate Zoom call and then they're a part of it. So it is anonymized in that sense already. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a question if the grid is visible to students that you just answered.
Yeah, so exactly. The grid view is only available to the teacher. There are ways to bring in a co-teacher, and we haven't touched upon that yet. But if we have a co-teacher, then of course the co-teacher has the same controls as the teacher, and they would be able to see the grid view and so on.
Can I open the teacher view on two different devices?
Yes, you can. You can definitely have different devices that, in fact, teachers, what they do is they sometimes open two different browsers, go to the same board, and then have a grid view on one browser so that they can see all the students, and they have their own board on the other browser on one of the other screens that they have. So that's definitely something you can do. And you got to click on this X to stop the showcasing, by the way. Go ahead.
When I arrange the students board alphabetically, will this move my board as well?
Yes, I believe it does that. Let me take a quick look at that. So let me see. This is I'm clear Picasso. I can go to open class boards. I can make it alphabetical.
I think it was already alphabetical.
Oh, was it? It is clear Picasso. Oh, that's right. That's right. That's right. You're right. Thanks. So yeah, it would move those boards around. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, continue.
Okay, cool. So let me just make sure that I've covered these main tools here. So let's see, we were doing math. Now there's also the option for teachers to use a pointer. This is a very cool option. So you can have a little fun snake that you can follow around. And as you can see, the student video also will show you that pointer. So as the teacher moves the pointer around, maybe I should resize this just a little bit. So you can see. So I can. That's another pointer that you can have. You can also have a spotlight feature, so you can show that. This probably needs sometimes. So if your student board gets out of sync, just I request them to use this refresh button up here, which, because of some network conditions, sometimes the updates don't get sent out properly. And then, so that refresh button definitely helps a lot to get things in sync. Then in tools, you also have some student signals. This is really, really helpful. So you can add a stoplight. This is a great way for a teacher to see whether students are following the material, or whether it's is at the right pace, or if they're running into problems. And when you go into the grid view, you'd be able to see the exact status of, why is it not switching? There you go. So you can see, as you can see, the Sarah student has been switching colors, and so that you get an idea of who needs help and things like that as well. Another way for students to get attention is by raising their hand. So as on the top right here, you can see that Sarah raises her hand, then the teacher gets this signal here saying that Sarah needs some help, and the teacher can click on this button and go to Sarah's board right away and say, how can I help you with anything, right? Okay, so and then the teacher can click on go to instructor again to return back to the teacher's board. Okay, then let's go to the tool section again. There's also a few other student signals. One is like a thumb signal. So there are a few different, they're essentially the same sort of a mechanism where students can use different ways to say, I need some help, or things are good. So, teachers in different parts of the world prefer different ways. And so we try to give them different tools based on, what's convenient for them. There's also the ability for a teacher to add calculators. So there's also a basic calculator that's already built in, right? So you can just use it as a regular calculator, or you can, let me clear this board, need a little bit more space. And the teacher can also add a graphing calculator. So this is a lot more enriched, and so they can use it for doing all their graphing work as well. And they can then, once they're done with their exercise, they can take a snapshot of this, right? And then students can, so let me do that as a student maybe, right? So this was then let me refresh this page. Yeah, so the student actually would need to add their own graphing calculator. Let's say that, there you go. And then the student can work on their assignments, take a snapshot, and paste it into their assignment as well. Okay. Now, as you might see, then several of these panels, they have this little indicator up there that can be used for moving the panels around. So just make sure that you're aware that you can move them around. And many of the other elements also are draggable. So certainly, if you need them to be moved around, you should see them. I think we need to cover one part before we run out of time. Let's look at all the important manipulatives that are down up here. So in the top title bar, you can see this palette icon. Now, it brings up two panels. One is just a quick color picker. This makes it convenient for younger students to pick any colors that they want. But in addition to this has thousands of manipulatives that are built in. So let's go top down. So here you have math manipulatives. So you can have stickers which are for different math symbols. You have sections there's symbols for music, right? You have different types of notes. Now you may wonder how do I use these music symbols if I don't have the music sheets, right? So a staff notation. So let me delete these. I can get rid of these. Here's what I can do. I can go into grids, and I have different types of grids that are available. Let me just add a music sheet. So here you get your staff notation, and now you can start to add things here. So some music teachers find this convenient, and of course you're always welcome to just write on this, right? So you can even draw notes right directly on this. So that works as well. As if I pick a thinner tool, that would work better. Then we have different types of letters, different colors as well. Then different alphabet. So for younger kids, for slightly older kids. And then to match with this, you may even want to change your grid to a handwriting grid, or a primary line grid. So there's several different options available there. There's phonograms, so different types of spellings and pronunciation you can play with here. And each of these sections has like tons of them. So please scroll down and play with this tool as much as you can to learn more. Then you have all these math manipulatives. This is a whole lot of things that you make math teaching very, very convenient. So you have 100 block, 1000 block, positive, negative blocks. You have rulers. You have different types of protractors as well. Let me see if I can find that. Maybe there's number lines, fractional tools, touch points, circles, fractional circles. So the thermometer built in as well. So there's tons of things to investigate. There's 3D shapes, there's reward stickers as we already used before. Then you have currency symbols, right? And then see, it's very easy for us to add this. So if you need additional stickers and manipulatives to be added, do let us know. We will probably add them within the day. And so now we have St. Patrick's there as well. So we have quite a few seasonal things as well available. And so do let us know and we can certainly help you out with this. We have different languages. We have some sign language symbols as well. Let me clear this board a little bit. So we have some sign language symbols available now. And then of course, emojis for sure, can't miss out, can't miss those. Mind maps, tons of them are here. And then we have a few active widgets as well. So for example, you can add a clock widget, which you can use for teaching students how to tell time. This can be configured to have geared hands or free moving hands. You have the ability to add a spinner, so you can create game boards with this. You can and also configure the spinner. So for example, you can change all the options that you have in there. So let's say I reduce the number of options here and update it, it will change. And you can change, there are ways to configure different colors. Several teachers have used this in really amazing ways. There's also the ability to add a student name spinner. So this automatically adds the names of your students that are there in the classroom. So as you see, there are 4 of us here, so there's 4 here. And then you also have, in addition to the normal dice that you saw up here, right, through the tools, we had show dice, but this is another dice which is available, which is a little bit more configurable because you can have fractional values, you can have letters, you can have numbers and bunch of things that you can configure in there. And that will, so any of these can be randomized in some sense, right? And then you can of course increase the number of dice here as well. Of course, all of this is configurable, the colors, the background, all of that as well. Yeah, let me pause again for some questions.
Yeah, so the question that can features be deactivated, activated by teacher to control student access?
So, can you repeat that? Sorry, Praveen, it broke up.
Can features be activated or deactivated by the teacher to control student access?
Yes, so you can configure the tools as well. Let me find where that is.
That's right.
That's there.
In the gear menu.
Sorry. Yeah, yeah. So customize menu options for kids. So here you can pick and choose exactly what your options are available. So by default, these are all available to students, but you can then select which ones are to be disabled and then hide those. There's also the option here for you to say that students can see simple tools. So for example, if I enable this and go and see my student board, so my student number of tools have reduced here, right? And then you also have the option to configure very simple tools for even younger students, which reduces the options even further. Yep, go ahead.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Yeah, just a sec. Can students use a touchscreen option to draw, or they don't have to use mouse?
Absolutely. So we have several teachers who have students that have Chromebooks with touchscreens, and that works perfectly fine. And of course, iPads are also very frequently used in classrooms.
Then, is there a video for students to view so they can learn how to use this?
Yes, so there are a few videos that some are student focused as well. We're trying to also create some student focused videos. In addition to this, we also have the student guide here. So if you go to the help section, there's a downloadable students guide that you can look at that students can use, and certainly that's something they can refer to. So here's what I'm going to do is since we're almost running out of time, I'm going to create a new board and I'm going to show a bingo game. So let me start drawing, start teaching. So this feature here, it helps you play essentially bingo with your classroom. Or what you need to do is you need to create a bingo type of PDF. So let me show you how that looks like. So here's a bingo PDF that I have, which is basically it has 13 pages and with all different combinations of these bingo cards in there, right? So if I keep, so I go to the next page, as you can see, there are different combinations that each page has. And then what I do is I can go to I go to manage book and then I say upload bingo. I'm going to copy this fruit bingo. Right? And I'm going to now copy this link and share it with on the Zoom chat. So all of you can join this. Right. And so when you join, you will see that you would be handed out a random bingo card. And then the teacher can go into the grid view and be able to see how the students are making progress on their bingo cards. So in some sense, you can see, okay, if somebody's not scratched out any pieces, then you can help them out and so on, right? You can cheat a little bit there. So that's a really cool little way to play bingo. Now, we support bingo cards up to 50 bingo PDFs up to 50 cards in there. So I think that's generally more than sufficient most of the classrooms. Yeah, so I think while you play with it, I'm certainly going to take some pause and take some more questions.
Yeah, there's a question. Can you show how you got to the stickers again?
Yes. So as you can see up here on the title bar, there's a little palette icon here. So you click on the palette, and so this brings up all these different manipulatives, and then you can go through all the various categories, and you can also search them by, so let's say like smiley. If I say smile, I can click on this and go, right? So I wanted to show a protractor. So here we go, a protractor. Got any other question?
Yeah. Can you show how we can use the chat option? And can
Sure.
students chat when they are in groups, only with their group?
Yes. So if you go to the avatar menu up here, the teacher can create a chat and so the messages that the teacher sends, they go out to all the students, of course, but when students respond, they only can respond back to the teacher. So there's no cross chat between students directly. So unless you create group boards, we didn't get a chance to look at group boards, but if you create groups of students, I can maybe show that in a second here. So let's say that I go to the avatar menu here, and I can then create a group board. So let me pick up just a few students here. So let's say I pick these 4 and I call them group 1. I have to move them into this group and create group 1. And so all of those teachers will now be a part of the group, and they will be able to communicate across with that group with the chat feature. And but at the same time, the teacher is still able to also monitor their chat as well. Now, this chat feature is really, really amazing because it includes um, a real-time translation mechanism. So let me join this board as my Sarah student as well, and I'll show you something really cool. So if Sarah now enables the chat, right? So uh, let's see, this is a little bit tricky to see. All right, there you go. Now, Sarah, let's say Sarah is more comfortable with Spanish. So what she can do is she can say, pick a chat language, and she scroll down and find Spanish. So now when this teacher says, it automatically gets real-time translated for Sarah and shows it to her in her preferred language. And when she responds, now of course the teacher hasn't picked any language, right? So even if she responds in Spanish, right? So the teacher will get to still see it in whatever the language the student responded, because the teacher has preferred to just use whatever is the default language. So, but this is real time and is really, really convenient. Is probably any other questions?
Can you translate for the teacher set and refresh? We can say, see what.
The young limb should get translated.
Yeah, sure. Let me do chat language. You want me to pick English?
Then just hit refresh.
Okay. There you go. Can you show that again, please? Yes. So as a student, you can go to the three dot menu, or this is as a student or a teacher, and then pick on chat language, and then pick your chat language out here. That's it. And you may need to hit refresh, but yeah, that's fine. You can do that. Yeah. Any other questions, Brian?
Will the play bingo feature include the co-teacher also?
Yes. So if the co-teacher now have when an individual joins as a co-teacher, they get their individual board as well. So let's say, for example, Heather here, right? If I click on this make teacher for Heather, she will become a co-teacher. Now she already had a bingo card on her board, but she also gets to see the grid view, and she also gets to do the same things that the regular teacher can. So it's essentially basically just like the teacher role. Any other questions?
Yeah, will this always be free?
As far as I can tell at this time, yes.
So all the features that you're seeing will always be free for educators. We won't charge or take back features ever. So you might charge enterprises for some other features which are not here, but
Yeah, and
We're
then
caught up.
sorry, go ahead, Paul.
We're caught up.
Okay, so a few other things I should really quickly touch upon. One is that there's a manage board section as well. So this is the same section that you will see if you go to the manage board. So if you go to the website and you say start drawing and then manage boards. So this takes you to an area where you can look at all the boards that you may have been creating for your classrooms. It helps you create folders. It lets you get a little bit more organized. One thing to keep in mind, your boards have an expiry date by default. And so if you want a board to be retained beyond that expiry date, you should click on this little timer icon here. That then it refreshes the expiry date. Now we store all these boards in cloud in the cloud, and that storage is a little bit expensive, of course. So we expire the boards and just basically clean up that so that our storage costs a little bit lower. There's also this section here which is called community boards. So you have the ability for as teachers to, if you prepared some material that you want to share with all other teachers, you can share it to the community. We review those submitted boards and curate that content, and then try and publish them periodically on our community section. So you can create copies of these directly. So for example, if I say that I want to look at this one, it shows you a very nice board that a teacher in the UK had prepared for her students. And so you can go to manage book and publish to community if you'd like to share your boards with the community as well. Yeah. So it's on the top of the hour. I'm going to stop the recording right now, but we will be here for about 30 minutes at least, for we can